Hello everybody, my name is Audrey Long and today I'm going to be demoing you the Yelp Detect Secrets credential scanner. So this credential scanner has been taken from the open source library utilized by Yelp, and we have wrapped it in the Visual Studio Marketplace extension code to then download into Azure Devops pipelines. And just for full transparency, this is a private extension. It's not available for anybody to download and utilize. However, I hope that the practices that we have picked up utilizing this development process can be picked up and used across any kind of industry. Before I get into the demo, I just wanted to highlight this is what the Visual Studio Marketplace extension page looks like. And on this page, you can see that the team and I that have created this extension have really tried our best to, give the user, whoever is using this in our organization, the best possible notes and configuration steps. So with any kind of extension that you create in the Visual Studio Marketplace, you can expose any kind of variables or user inputs right then and there, which makes it really nice and configurable for us security engineers or any engineers out there who are interested in our users only utilizing a subset of a potential tool. Here's just a real quick example of what the YAML file would look like for a tool such as this. This tool is configured in the default settings, so there's really not a whole lot of configuration options in here for this demo purpose. However, I wanted to showcase to the right here, this is what the input looks like in the user interface for someone who's actually going to be putting something like this within a pipeline. So when we generate security tooling, what we're trying to do in CSE and hopefully across industry is create tooling that is really easy to use and really easy to understand. So security can be a really difficult topic. It can be really hard to implement security, especially when we are trying to give lots of requirements to our developers. So ensuring the interfaces are easy to understand and easy to use is something that is utmost important to us here in the industry at Microsoft and hopefully to yours as well. So just to kind of go through some of the inputs, you can see for this specific tool, we gave the user the ability to enter the source code location and where they wanted to scan the repository. This is a really important first argument because ensuring that the users have the configurable option to scan a subset of a repository is also very important. In the industry that I work in, we work across many different repositories with many different customer spaces. And sometimes we just don't have the scope to include a credential scanner in all of their code spaces. So just making sure that what we're developing right here in the now is good enough for us, and that's what we really need to focus on. Aside from that, giving users the option to exclude files, this is really important as well because currently with the tooling in the configuration options, if you look at the open source Yelp Detect Secrets code, if you just run it as is, it will just go ahead and scan your whole entire code base. And that is pretty great and desirable, but from a user standpoint, from a development standpoint, sometimes it's not completely feasible. So giving the users the option to go ahead and exclude files that they're not interested in scanning was also very important from a user interface point of view. Now, there's a few things that Yelp Detect Secrets has available to users. One of them is something called a word list file, or otherwise known as an allow list. Um, we like to utilize the word allow list as well over, whitelist and blacklist. It's just more of an inclusive language, and we really do hope that this kind of language also gets distributed across the industry because we're trying to be also way more inclusive, not only at Microsoft, but in the security industry as well. So this, if you put in a location for a word list file, that could be utilized as your allow list to let the scanner know that the secret that it found is actually not a secret. It was a false positive, and there was honestly nothing else that could be done about it other than putting it in this allow list. That's just kind of the nature of tooling. Sometimes you have to go with the flow and rather put something in the code to indicate that it needs to be jumped over or provide something such as this allow list. And then the Yelp Detect Secrets tool itself gives you the option to rescan baseline files. So that's another option we didn't want to take away from the user. However, we don't really like to utilize this option in a pipeline only because it starts to get really hairy and the manual process of a pipeline starts to dissipate when you have to keep reintroducing a baseline file into a scanning situation such as this. The last option I would like to really point out is the fact that we allow our users to treat the findings as warnings instead of failures. I think this is really important to highlight because all of us as security engineers are probably sitting here and thinking, no, you're not allowed to proceed the pipeline if it fails. However, we also have to keep development best practices in mind when regarding how long some build processes actually take, and especially if we have non-parallel pipelines. This could be really problematic, especially if it is just a false positive that shows up. So we need to ensure that providing these settings for our users and the understanding of the risk that they inherit into their code base if they don't adhere to these standards is really front and center and should be at the forefront of every security engineer's mind. So here's an example of what the CSE detect secrets scan would look like. In this case, I have the default configuration settings put on, so it would just halt the pipeline if anything was found. In this example, I'm utilizing a open source vulnerable web application called WebGoat. WebGoat is available for free. It's a free and open source secure vulnerable application. A lot of security researchers in our field do like to utilize this app to do some of their own tooling efforts or even use it as a test bed. In this scenario, I'm just using WebGoat as a test bed. As you can see, the detect secret scanner actually did find 150 potential secrets within this web application. So I would say that that's a really great use case, and if anything, it gets us a better understanding on the capabilities of our tooling if research and time for that allows. So the really great thing about the tool that we generated and wrapped for ASDO is the fact that we ingested the output results from the Yelp Detect Secrets scanner and then put it in a format in which you can see here in this JUnit report XML. Now, when we have all of the secrets defined such like this with the test case and the priority and what line number it was on, line by line, it's just so much easier to see as a developer to actually dig in, see where was that secret, where can I check to make sure that that's actually a false positive, or if perhaps there was an accident that pre-commit hook missed this secret and then it ended up here in our deployment pipeline, so we need to stop and figure out exactly what happened. um, one of the biggest features about generating this kind of code in Azure DevOps for us was the ability to create bugs. So for example, I'm just going to show you if you hit create bug here, you can actually go ahead and assign this is a bug, demo bug, and it'll take that link and it'll actually just go ahead and throw it in your backlog. So here you can see the demo bug was generated, and right now it actually just links out directly to what the problem was. So giving users the ability to you know use their code in the pipeline, and then if it stops and finds any kind of bugs, we can go ahead and just generate bugs right there on the fly so that any kind of user story backlog ingestion can be utilized to then further the development process and hopefully even give more insights as to why we have these bugs in the first place. Thank you guys so much for watching the demo.